collateral damage, but I'ma pay homage. I remember listening to music when I was in college. Even when I was young, I was always seeking the knowledge. Daydreaming of my wife's thighs, cause I love the fraudage. No cap, I'ma always keep it solid. Niggas asking me for crypto even though I lost my wallet. My clients, schizophrenic and psychotic. That's why my relationship with them is symbiotic. Nas said he remains flyest in the fat canias. I don't know what that means, but I pray to the most highest.
We must pay homage to him.
You know you're breaking my heart.
Yo, the manifesto, peep the manifesto. I'm flying on a plane from the north to archipelago. Your life's were bought in gold, even though it's hot and cold. What's going on, everybody? It's your host. Hope you're doing well. Hope this finds you well. Let's get right into it. So, I gotta give a lot of credit where it's due. DeFi on the Pulse Chain side of things. I just heard, I heard a Spaces. First of all, KG, not KG the poet. Shout out to KG the poet, but we're talking about KG from Internet Money. He's a developer, I guess. Well, I should say a builder at least. I don't know if he's an actual developer, but one of the builders from Pulse Chain who represents Internet Money Wallet. Shout out to him for holding the Spaces. Talks about, I guess, the bullish and the bearish perspective for Pulse Chain. I mean, why do you think people are even having these types of discussions? It's easy. It's because the sentiment overall, and I'm not just talking about crypto overall, but the sentiment on Pulse Chain has been low, very low, and there are ideas you see, the problems that Richard Heart has presented, people are realizing little by little that it's real. It's like these things it's like you can't overlook. So it's creating and it's forcing people who, at least I would like to believe, it's forcing folks to just really look at things for what they are. Separate feelings from facts and look at things for what they are and take it from there. Have a discussion, whatever you want to call it, if it's important to you, right? So he held the Spaces, and of course people were talking about it, this and that. Not just people were talking about it, a lot of people, take your guess on who was in the Spaces, right? Take a wild guess, of course. Anyway, that's not the point. It's not about really who on the first mind you would think would be on the Spaces. It's about certain ideas that were brought up by people. First of all, let me just say it too. Let me just be open and say it. This thing was a Spaces, and of course GRC was invited to speak. And it was a thing where they were setting the stage to have a debate between GRC and another new person who got into the community, a Tiger guy. I don't know who that is. In the beginning of the Spaces, they had their back and forth or whatever, and then GRC decided to leave the Spaces. If y'all care, y'all go do your research. It's a very long situation, so I'm not gonna just tell you, listen, man, go spend almost 4 hours listening to some stuff when you could have possibly do something a lot more productive and beneficial for your life, right? In that Spaces though, certain voices came on, and I was glad to hear, even the ones that I would think were even like against what GRC was talking about, against really like what people perceive as, when people were talking and highlighting Richard Hart's contradictions, that's a form of flooding the bags. Even the people who were saying that it's flooding the bags, and they even had to come on, some of them that I was surprised, like B Roots was also surprised me in what he was saying. Like, he mentioned during that stream that, people were just saying, why are folks flooding their bags like this, that it doesn't make sense, this and that and that and this. And I'm not giving you complete clear context, but one of the things that B Root said, which I have to acknowledge, was the fact that he said, well, yeah, he himself had to call out Richard Hart's hypocrisy on X, on Twitter, like directly. You see, when you have, and to me, B Root didn't mention this, but one of the examples when B Root said that he had to call out Richard Hart on Richard Hart's hypocrisy is when immediately, and I spoke about this on a previous stream, when Richard Hart was promoting P. Dye, and then March of this year changed his tune and blamed the promoters of P. Dye for lying to the community. I thought about B Roots, because it's no secret that B Roots was also an advocate for P. Dye for the better part of 2 years since the Pulse Chain launched, right? I'm not saying that's what B Roots was addressing. I'm talking about why he even said, and why, like how I appreciate him even saying and denoting the hypocrisy from Richard. That I appreciated. Another person who I thought was, I was pleased to hear his take, was Funding Jim. Funding Jim said he understood the discussion was about bullish versus bearish. What's the sentiment? What side are you on? And Funding Jim played the middle, right? Sort of like the middle. He's in the middle of all that, but he highlighted the bearish points that he highlighted. Bravo. Bravo. And it wasn't a thing of, it was beyond feelings. It's beyond your opinion. And one thing that he mentioned was something that made me think about identity block. And shout out to that guy too, man. Like, check this out, man. Funding Jim brought an example while he was talking. Funding Jim can speak lengthy. He was saying in his talking points, he was mentioning how he remembers, Richard likes to talk about community. As a leader, he was all for community, right? Building community and talk about community. And when the SEC subpoenaed the Hex streamers, right? Remember that time when the SEC subpoenaed all those streamers and bloggers and promoters in the community, the influencers in the community that created content? This was the fall of 2022. Like, the fall, September, October, around that time of 2022. Hex streamers got subpoenaed. And what something Funding Jim said was, he didn't see any support from RH as a leader. He didn't see RH support the streamers who were subpoenaed, because at that point I remember how tense and fearful the streamers were. Some streamers stopped and never streamed again. Some people they went ghost. I remember this. And this was after he pointed it out. And he also mentioned some other things, that were it goes against these talking points that people want to just keep highlighting about how folks who complain are crying and are flooding their bags, and not when you have a system where it's not decentralized. Okay? not when you have a system that's controlled, the majority, by one person. Okay? He went even so much as say, listen, based on someone else, shout out to Execute, another person in the community who's always just been kind of like, just try to be as balanced and fair as he could and present factual information. Damn your feelings, right? Man, it was just deep. Like, and not deep in the sense of profound, but I was glad to see that these talking points that people denote as people crying were actually being and shout out to KG, they were being highlighted to show to the front that this is something that's real, and it's overshadowing anything about, oh, just buy the dip, be patient, why are you crying, right? All this stuff about, stop crying. Even people brought out, this guy would tell you, why are you crying? Meanwhile, he cries for Vitalik to pump the bags. All those things came out, right? Even KG had to mention that the sentiments that GRC for the most part been raising is what more people believe in than not. And he's a builder. And he understands that as a builder right now, and his peers who are builders represent the minority. They represent the minority in the post-chain community because the minority is being overshadowed, right? By people really analyzing and questioning all the contradicting and hypocritical behaviors stemming from the founder himself that he's displayed during this time period. So what are you going to say? Those people are crying? And this is why I said shout out to Identity Block. Because in 2022, the summer of 2022 was when, RH took liberties to show that he was installing a bidet, right? That he came to the States, was even partying and clubbing with, some people in the community, some Hexicans in the community. Like he was in the States and even met up with BitBoy Crypto himself. And soon after that, everything changed. The man stopped streaming. The man, it's like his whole internet persona, it just shifted. Like as far as him being accessible or even making himself readily available, he stopped doing streams. And Identity Block mentioned that as far as like, ever since that, something with him coming to the States, something fundamentally changed with RH. And when Funding Jim mentioned that he didn't see the support from RH to his community when the community was subpoenaed almost a year before the SEC sent him notice that he was being sued, that was also a red flag, among many other things, right? It just let me know, like, see, there's stuff that's happening here that people, you cannot pretend like it's not happening or avoid, because it becomes problematic. Like when you do that and you listen to people who think that you're stupid and that you're an idiot for having a brain and applying some logic and being extreme and being very critical about what's going on, because the hypocrisy is just completely obvious and noticeable. The contradictions are noticeable. I mean, to the point we're talking about, to the point where it's even said openly in a wide open public. It's not just me. All of you who believe and don't listen and don't want to just pretend that it's me that's just been crying, it doesn't matter what you think. I'm just sharing with you what's happening. I'm sharing with you even my thoughts. And then when I see and I catch a recap of a Spaces or whatever where thousands of people are listening, whether you want to believe they were wasting their time or not, but when it comes up that everyone is waiting for him meaning RH, to pump the bags, where Funding Jim even had to say, Funding Jim had to keep it so thorough and honest and say, Another gentleman, Execute, who spoke, was right in saying that everyone is waiting for RH to pump the bags. Nobody of any type of presence in crypto, no influence, no KOL, no anybody cares for Pulse Chain. This was said openly and by Funding Jim. So I respect that. I respect him even having the wherewithal to even say, and he even said that he sold. The man said he bought over 40 cents worth of Hex, $1 million of Hex worth, $1 million worth of Hex at 40 cents. He said he spent cash for that. Like we understand, because see, the narrative is, because, you know, Funding Jim, people in the community have said he's capitulated already, like many times and stuff like that. But he's also said, yeah, sure, but he also has bags still. And with some of his bags, he's still up. But that's not the point. The point is, like, while everybody waiting for him to pump, you should do something in your life to make sure that you well, and possibly like focus on building other things in your life outside of crypto. Because right here, this is what you have. Nobody can control or can dictate or foretell what's going to happen. And for that, I can't disagree. In good faith, I cannot disagree with what the man said. Like, I was like completely, I was just, it was refreshing to hear. But a lot of you people, like in the community, they're just blind. They're blind to the fact they want to remain, you know, they're just narrow-minded and focused on just one thing, when you just like, wow, that's not healthy to just be completely fixated, punch drunk, and brainwashed and programmed and completely trained and ingrained in a certain way. You see what the results are yielding. Because what are you going to say? Oh, be patient. All of RH supporters, hard body, were on the stream. Oh yeah, you think any pushback was given on that level? Like, it could, because you could keep hearing the same narrative. The entire market is down, not just Pulse Chain. Sure, the entire market is down, and not just Pulse Chain. But we're not talking about the entire market. We're talking about what's been happening over here. Down in the right for 2 years. In some cases, it's been down in the right since Hex September 2021. 4 years. Like we're not talking about these other situations going on over here, man. We're talking about a person who can't even make themselves available for whatever reason. In some instances, like for me, I think he's just running and hiding. You know, it is what it is. But it's not even about that. It's about the mixed messaging. It's about the hypocrisy that's been taking place. That's just crazy. It has an effect. It has an effect on what's going on, right? So instead of remaining glued to this idea of him just trying to be some kind of giving tree and listening to the rhetoric, that's now like sort of like, again, what are you gonna say to anybody who's new? How are you going to onboard anybody? How are you going to convince somebody today that they should buy Hex? Do you not see that as like some type of problem right now? But many of you don't care. You think Hex is the best, and you're going to think it's the best for the rest of your days. That's on you. That's on you. But I'm talking about the sensible people. I'm talking to the sensible people out here. Like, really look at things for what it is right now. Things are so upside down in a sense. This is from a man who will say, from Richard Hart, will say he don't work for you or nothing like that, right? But you still have advertisements. You still have promotions for Hex 38% a year. That still hasn't changed. That tag, that message, that still hasn't changed, even though it's no longer 38% a year. You think he has enough wherewithal or even cares to even change that? You still see the sign all throughout social media. He's not going to update that. He's not going to update Pulse X anytime soon. He's not going to do anything for you because he doesn't work for anybody, right? But at the same time, you want all these people to continue to market. You want all these eyes to come to the Pulse Chain. You want all this work being done. You know, when it was time for you to support these streamers that got subpoenaed damn near 3 years ago, all the people that were bringing eyes, all the people that were part of the whole marketing, come on. Folks had to get lawyers. They had to do all these things to protect themselves, right? To show and prove that they were not on the take. They were not getting paid by Richard to stream, all these things. And where was his support? And no one talks about that publicly. My goodness, when the man brought that up, I'm very happy he did. Because that's something I could also now talk about. And it also reinforces my stance, like, where's this guy? What is he doing? Like it's showing you that, you know, it's not about the people anymore. It's just about him. It's really not about the people. And more, and this is where I really, this is a part of the thing. It almost like validates what I've been feeling. Like a builder on the stream even said, the host of that Spaces, KG, even said, look, more people are believing in and understand and know and agree with the problems that Richard Hart has presented with his contradictions versus anything else. But you know, let a person like me talk about it. Y'all gonna say, oh, I'm crying. Oh, y'all gonna say, oh, well, you need to be patient. Just hold on. No, ask your man what's going on. Be direct with him if you care. But many of you, you know, won't. Folks, you know, direct the issues to Richard. Like B. Root said, he called out Richard on his hypocrisy. I don't know what context, but pick any act that he did that presented contradiction. I gave you an example with the whole P-Dye situation. Basically, threw him and everybody else talking about P-Dye, Sami and the rest of them under the bus. Meanwhile, what did he do? Again, we don't have to keep harping on the same thing, but it's real. What I'm saying to you is real. It's crazy. And again, like I said in my previous stream, you need to take care of yourself. Detach yourself from this foolishness if it's making you stressed out, if it's causing you to, you know, lose sleep and not eat and be worried and concerned. Nah, put this aside, because this is, no man and his shenanigans should dictate your wellness, should have an, you know, dictate or have a negative impact on your well-being overall. Richard Hart ain't worth that. Nothing he got going on is worth you hurting yourself. None of it. Or the noise from everybody else, including my noise. If my rhetoric is just not helping you and making you feel bad and sad, that's not my intention. I'm just spreading information. It might make you feel a way, but I'm not here to make you feel bad and sad. Then don't listen to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, tune me out and live your life. That's it. If you listen to me, cool. If you don't, cool. But I will stick as close to, quote unquote, doing the right thing, stick as close to being real and genuine as I can in dealing with these situations that present issues that are disingenuous, behaviors from a founder that are just like, man, so misleading, so disgustingly wrong. Like, no accountability. You know why there's no accountability? No takes no responsibility. Will tell you, oh, you begging. He knows blockchain. Everyone else, he knows blockchain, and everybody else are idiots. He'll tell you, you begging, pretty please, and all this stuff for, you know, for somebody, indirectly him, to pump the bags. Meanwhile, this is what he did with Vitalik. He acts as if he's not doing these things. Keep telling you something is not right there psychologically. And in my opinion, he's just glitching. He's decompensating on some level. Nobody cares about a 3-minute workout like that versus all a deluge of problems you got going on in your system. And you're hiding, right? You're not speaking, you know, you're tweeting, if that's even him that's tweeting. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's just what it is, folks. Take care of you and yours, because he won't. And again, if we do see what we need to see and what we deserve to see by way of gains and green candles, we win. And if we don't, guess what? We win, because these lessons that we learn are priceless. You cannot put a value on that. They're invaluable. True to form. I'll catch you on the next one.